Now, the rest of the story.
Welcome back. I was going to do this video tomorrow morning, but to be completely honest, they are calling for 1 to 3 inches of snow tonight, and I think another up to another 3 inches tomorrow morning. And then it's supposed to be 49 degrees, so it's actually a little nicer out to do the video now versus what it could be in the morning. And for us having blizzard conditions yesterday morning, I mean, literally it looked like January. Everything was white. All the frost is pretty out of the ground, and things are actually drying out, firming up. I mean, for it being the day after what it looked like yesterday, I mean, 30, no, it wasn't even in the 30s. I think it was 25 degrees out. It's 30s today and 40s tomorrow. But skid steer's getting the oil dropped out of it. We have all the filters we need to a certain degree, between the hydraulic filters, the fuel filters, the inner and outer air. Plus we have either this is the in-cab filter or the filter that goes on the back of the cab. I'm not sure yet, but we got to keep this thing, the Bobcat, running at peak efficiency, because even though we got the deer steer, which we all really like, being able to have another machine down at my place to feed cows down there is very huge. Still have the chains on it. Probably not going to take the chains off for a while yet. I do want to go through, well, I got it up here. I brought one of the buckets for the Bobcat. This is the one I bought. It actually works a lot nicer for digging at manure, just by design. The back plate on it, on the back of the bucket, it's actually tilted ahead farther, as you can actually see, versus the snow bucket that we actually had, still have it for the Bobcat, with the new cutting edge on it. When you tilt this thing back, it actually tilts the bottom of the bucket up farther, so when you're driving into the bed pack or whatever you're doing, it actually does a better job of getting up underneath. And when you tilt it back, it tilts it back far enough that it helps you break away some of that manure off the pile. Yes, I do. You guys can look cell phone video, but I got my cell phone insured, so the camera works again, and I have my GoPro up here with me. I just don't know where it went, because I took it out of my my microphone holder, and I'm not really sure where it went. I want to go through and scrape up the outer barn lot, just because it hasn't been done yet, and I'll pile some of that up, get it down to concrete again, and that way it's nicer for the cattle. I mean, who doesn't want their floors cleaned, right? So the cows out here are still on the lot. I'm not putting them out to the pasture anytime too soon until there's a fair amount of grass out here, because for the amount of cows that are up here, they'll have, if that grass was completely grown up, they'll mow it off in just a couple days. And I don't want to leave the chains on if I was going to go through and like do a full day's worth of scraping up the barn lots, because it does just, concrete just does chew these chains away. But I'm still looking at having to feed in mud and muck conditions down home, so I'm going to leave it on. It's just that I wanted to go through and do the oil, do the filters, and if you can see all of the hay buildup, I mean, the radiator is just terrible. I gotta clean it out. I don't have an air compressor down at my place, and I gotta flip the cab up, and I'm gonna use the long air hose and clean everything out. It does have a seal out on it. That's why we have all this gradual leakage. It looks like a lot, but it's not much. I'm gonna take it up sometime this summer here in between hay crops, and I'm probably gonna be after first cut, to be honest, but get it fixed, because I want to keep it up and running as long as possible. Corn planter's folded up. I was just informed today that The road cleaners were shipped this morning. Is today Friday? Today is Friday. I was told that Monday, Tuesday of next week they should be in, and Andrew is planning on coming tomorrow. And you guys can see this quick. I changed the bracket around that I use for mounting my monitor, or the monitor, and my cell phone, and I gotta figure out how I'm gonna mount my camera if I'm gonna keep talking to you guys while I'm planting and whatnot. But cab needs to be cleaned out. We're getting a different wiring harness. Well, two actually, because we're getting a different one for running the planter once we get the rest of the updates on it. We got to change out all this. The new, it's not on track, I believe, but we had on track for the steering controller, and now it's going to be the motor is just a block that sits off to the side, so it doesn't take up as much room, and hopefully, I mean, I can see the dash a little bit better without having to, look over here and see what it's doing. And you guys are out of luck because I already ran this I ran it this morning, since we've changed the oil and everything on it, so no cold start for today. But I'm gonna give this a try, if you guys can see that with or without the light there. I changed this bracket around. This bracket, I mean, honestly, for those of you that really care, but this actually was flipped down around and was sitting down here with this angle sitting out like this. And that's where I used to put like my GoPro mount, and I actually had this connector was actually mounted on that same bolt, with just one bolt, which was kind of sketchy, to be honest with you, just for how it was. But the problem I had with it is I like, as I'm sitting in the seat like we are right now, the seat, if it's, tractor's running, it'll be sitting higher, but with my handles right here, I've come to the point where I've gotten really used to having the monitor right at the tips of my fingers, so I can do the touch screen, and plus all of the row shut-offs. I got the switch box. That's why I actually opted for mounting this higher, and I actually stole this bar out of the 82. I mean, it's the same setup in it, but I just put the cell phone holder, granted for those of you who actually care, I just put it on this angle bracket. We really don't have much use for this bar. I can get it ordered for, I think it's like 60-70 bucks, but I wanted to go this route largely just because I have the brackets available. I did go to, was it monderbracket.com? I mean, I'm not getting paid to say that, but they have all sorts of cool different brackets you can get, and I was thinking very long and hard about ordering the one for the 46, and I wasn't sure, for those of you that may have done it, it's the bracket gets attached someplace back here, runs the whole length of that window, and then mounts, I believe, somewhere back in here, which means I would potentially have to mess this little part shelf up a little bit, which I don't really want to do because, I mean, it doesn't look like much, but it's super handy. I mean, every year it seems like we're changing things around. I got my USB charger port because, cell phones and cameras and whatnot anymore. But my thing I had against it, other than I wasn't sure where it was going to mount, and I don't want to have to drill out or have to tap out anything in the 46 because I already have these holes that I actually end up having to drill out and tap out that are supposed to be here. The only problem is this bracket probably wasn't meant for the 46, largely because the upper hole, as you can see, it's, well, farmer fabricating, kind of. I didn't want to get carried away trying to fabricate a bracket or some kind of piece of steel, because that is this bolt back there is the bolt or the mounting spot that is actually meant to be in this tractor. You notice how it's kind of short for this bracket? Well, I'm not going to go buy a different bracket. Just, no. So what I end up doing is I put a bolt in, put a washer in, then I got a heavy cable tie, which looks actually somewhat professional. I mean, how many of you actually really noticed that until I pointed it out? And what it is I got this tightened up as much as I can. I got it centered, and then I got that cable tie tightened as tight as I possibly can to make sure that it's holding this bracket up to kind of support this because it is slotted. And it is also helping keep this centered, because once I get the monitor in here, all that weight is going to be pulling back here. Now I do have, I use my hand as a measuring stick to make sure that I wasn't going to hit the window with this bracket. I know you guys are being blinded here, but I'm hoping, not much hoping to it, I can already see it's more or less, it's getting it up out of the way. I don't have this bracket just kind of hanging out here in the middle of nowhere. Visibility from the cab is huge for me. I mean, hence one of the reasons why I didn't want that bracket across the window. And I'm hoping, much like with the 7600 and the monitors I have in that, I'm trying to pretty much just keep everything right on this corner post. So I'm really not sacrificing much for my view out of the cab. So we got to go through and we're going to get this set up. Then I got to get it on the planner probably next week, quite honestly. And that way we can fold it out again and put the roll cleaners on it. Once we get done doing that, grease it and put the seed boxes, put the seed boxes back on it, and the planner is pretty well ready to go. Not really gonna get too excited about the weather right now. It just doesn't look that great, largely because they're calling for rain about midweek for every week in the future forecast right now. And I'd say the profile is, for us, we're sitting really good on moisture. I'm to the point where I might not even be putting my dry fertilizer on before first cut on my hay this year, just because it is soft enough down at the valley. I don't want to risk getting stuck. Plus with fertilizer prices and what I ended up putting on last year, I'm thinking it might be my best interest to let first crop do what it's going to do, which typically first crop does very well even without the added fertilizer, the added push in the spring. The reason I like doing that is because I do want that added push in the spring, but the dry fertilizer, it gives it all summer to break down. The way things are looking right now, I might just go the route of putting on a heavier rate. Okay, I'm planning on doing 3 cuttings at the valley, 3 cuttings of hay. I have my fertilizer per cutting already figured out for the year. So if I'm going to skip the fertilizer for first cut, largely just because I don't want to rut up the field by getting it spread. I mean, I'm not against spreading the fertilizer. If it dries up enough that I can, I will. But right now, the last time I was down there, about a quarter of the valley is ponded. It's got water on it. And looking at the forecast and everything else that I do have going on that I got to do when it does dry out, firm up. I mean, Ryan and I fixed fence this afternoon as much as we could, but I still got about 2 days of fences to do, and then I got some ground that we picked up that I have to do some stuff for, just because you picked it up over the winter. There's some things we got to do to it, and I got to run boundaries on it. I was actually going to try to harrow the grass down at the valley, but I don't even know if that's going to happen. And being April 1st, April Fool's, folks, I was just told again that the planting and the insurance date for corn is like April 11th. I think the planting date for soybeans was like March, the end of March sometime, if you had like the wind and hail insurance. I'm not that brave. Last year I considered planting soybeans April 9th because it was dry and it was getting pretty fit, but it did benefit me waiting another week or two. And that's what I'm looking at this year. I'm not really interested in planting before the 20th of April, but 20th of April and conditions call for it, I'm all for it. I don't know if Ryan filmed much on it, so I don't want to talk about the grain drill too much because I wasn't here. But that is ready to be used also. And true to fashion, it's been greased, all the chains have been gone through, bearings, everything's been gone through. I had a viewer, I don't even know if he watches anymore, actually brought us a whole arm for here, and we ended up using a bunch of the parts off of it. The bracket itself was good, but we took all the pieces on the back end off of it, or Dad Ryan did. We only have, well, probably a day total, I'd say, of hay to seed down. We got a 10-acre soybean strip at my place we're going to seed down, plus a 5-acre piece that I'm planning on seeding down on my own. It's going into corn ground. Haven't had the best of luck planting into corn ground, especially when it's been corn on corn on corn. I'm a little worried about the residual chemicals because that did burn us here in the last couple of years. So me planting that largely to heavily into grass, and just knowing that it's not worth, I'm not willing to risk high-priced alfalfa based off of that previous planting history in that field. Plus I have some bulldozing ground and the ground down at the valley where I stacked the bales last fall. I gotta lightly work that and seed that down. So things are gonna get busy if they, well, like I said, slow and steady in the last video, but no baler. I know people are asking me about where the baler is. I got to pull that one out and do bushings and do the pickup teeth and whatnot on it. And whenever the other baler gets here, I got to go through that one. If they're calling for a week of rain, I'll probably end up doing stuff like that too. So I got to get to it. So thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Take care. Take it easy. Keep in touch. I'll talk to you guys later.